Redbull's downfall needs to be studied at Harvard, McLaren could implement team orders from this point onwards, and Lewis Hamilton is furious with his subpar performance. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Lewis Hamilton admitted being furious at his qualifying performance on Saturday, believing he should have been at least on the front row at Monza. The 7-time world champion will line up 6th on the grid in what was a tight fight for pole on Saturday. His Q3 best only 0.186 is behind the P1 time of Lando Norris in his McLaren. Hamilton believes he lost a quarter of a second in total between the opening chicane and lap-ending Parabolica corner, which would have been enough to put him on pole. But within that, he acknowledged he believes qualifying has been a weakness of his for a little while, as he trails teammate George Russell 12-4 in the head-to-head on that front this season, though he still leads his Mercedes colleague in the drivers' standings by 32 points. Despite the fine margins involved, Hamilton admitted his frustrations at not putting his car on the front row of the grid for the Italian Grand Prix, and even ahead of Norris. "Furious, absolutely furious, because I could have been pole," Hamilton told Sky Sports F1 after the session. "I think I could have been on the front row, at least on the front row, and I just didn't do the job at the end. Lost a 1/10.5 in turn 1 and 2, and then I lost another 1/10 at the last corner. So no one to blame but myself. Qualifying has been my weakness for a minute now, and I can't figure it out, so I'll keep trying." As for what comes next, Hamilton, who was speaking shortly after the flag dropped on qualifying, expressed his belief that the team deserved better from qualifying. With Mercedes junior driver Andrea Kimi Antonelli having been announced as his successor at Mercedes on Saturday morning, he admitted to a very surreal feeling about it now he will vacate his seat come the end of the season. "Probably a little bit kicking myself over the next couple of hours, and then, ultimately, I've got to continue. I've got to move forwards," he added when asked about what comes next. "We have a good race car. The team have done an amazing job this weekend. We really have. The car has been feeling so much better than the last race, and the team deserve better. Maybe they'll get that with Kimi." McLaren driver Lando Norris shut down a question about concerns over his poor F1 starts after taking pole position for the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. And he revealed that McLaren have found a couple of things since last weekend's Dutch GP. As the team attempt to rectify their recent start line issue, Norris converted pole into a second career victory at Zandvoort last Sunday, recovering from a poor getaway to record the biggest margin of victory so far in F1 2024. Starts have emerged as a weakness for Norris as the season has developed, with the pole-sitting McLaren driver also falling behind Max Verstappen off the line in Spain in June. Appearing in the post-qualifying press conference, Norris shut down a question from a reporter, asking if he had any concerns of a repeat of Zandvoort ahead of the long run down to the first corner in Italy. Before the journalist had finished posing the question, Norris said, "I'm not." With both Norris and Piastri losing positions at the start of the Dutch GP, the former had earlier claimed that McLaren had found a couple of things in their post-race review of Zandvoort. And he revealed that the MCL38's practice starts have noticeably improved at Monza, with the team making progress in that area this weekend. He told media, "What have we learned since Zandvoort? A couple of things. For sure, we of course review things like we always do, and I feel like we've made progress so far with our practice launches and stuff like that, so just crack on and do our best." Norris and Piastri will line up for McLaren's first front-row lockout since the Hungarian Grand Prix, where the latter set himself up for his maiden victory after taking the lead at the first corner. Piastri, who found himself stuck behind George Russell at Zandvoort after his poor start, believes the long run to the first chicane represents a good opportunity to once again take the lead from Norris. Yet he is convinced that more chances will come as the race unfold, with tire graining and degradation set to be a major factor in the outcome of the race. Asked to pinpoint his best opportunities to beat Norris on Sunday, Piastri said, "I think the start is always a good opportunity. It's a long run to turn 1 here. Obviously, we as a team need to do a bit of a better job than last week, unless we plan on doing bad starts and just creating a roadblock. I think that is an opportunity, but there will be more opportunities tomorrow. I think the strategy is still a bit of a question mark. No one's really done more than 10 laps on a set of tires, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it'll be a pretty interesting one even after the first lap." Max Verstappen's qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix was his worst of the season. The Red Bull driver will start 7th after simply struggling to find the speed for anything better. Helmut Marko, head of Red Bull's F1 operations, has revealed that nothing worked for the team when it came to tweaking the car to find the pace necessary for, ideally, a front-row start at Monza. Speaking to Sky after Monza qualifying, Helmut Marko was asked to describe what happened to Max Verstappen and what the team believes is wrong with the machinery. According to the Austrian, Red Bull's performance was incomprehensible. In Q2, I think we were within a few hundredths of second behind Hamilton, and then suddenly nothing worked in the third qualifying session, he said. The changes were marginal. In theory, they couldn't have accounted for that, he added. So we are puzzling. One of the big issues was the fact that Verstappen teammate Sergio Perez was actually setting faster laps on used tires than on fresh rubber. Something doesn't add up at all, Marko said. Normally, a used set of tires is 3 or 4 tenths slower. This isn't the first time we've seen a weakness from the once seemingly indestructible Red Bull racing team. The 2024 season has revealed that the RB20 could start off quick, but the team has struggled to introduce mid-season upgrades that are capable of responding to the upgrades brought by teams like McLaren or Ferrari. Making matters more frustrating is the fact that Sergio Perez has struggled overall, meaning the team is effectively relying on one driver, Verstappen, to lead its charge in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. Still, Marko doesn't believe that all is lost. When asked if he still feels as if the team could win, he responded, "Definitely. We have to analyze because the performance in Q2 was there, it was good. Thank God this is Monza where you can overtake." The ability to overtake will be important. It means that a poor qualifying session doesn't necessarily have to translate directly to poor race pace. If Red Bull can find a strategy that minimizes its struggles with its equipment, it may very well take the fight to McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari. Marko added, "I don't think anyone can pull away, not even the two McLarens, unless they do a great slipstreaming game and don't fight each other, but all is not lost yet. But if we have the same lack of performance in the race, then it looks bad." That would be an understatement. If Red Bull can't make up ground in Monza, it's going to have to find a miracle to improve for the rest of the 2024 season. Liam Lawson was one of 3 options Williams had to replace Logan Sargent, but Helmut Marko says they did not agree on terms with the team, instead signing Franco Colapinto. The under-fire Sargent contested his final Formula One Grand Prix last time out in Zandvoort when a crash in FP3 that destroyed his upgraded Williams F1 car all but sealed his fate. Finishing 16th in the race as he once again failed to score a point, Williams announced 2 days later that Sargent had been replaced with immediate effect by the team's junior and Formula 2 driver, Colapinto. That came after 48 hours of speculation as to who, if Williams made the call, would replace Sargent. Mick Schumacher, Mercedes' reserve driver, was said to be in the running, as too was Red Bull Jr. and reserve driver Lawson. The latter, though, said Christian Horner would have been dependent on Williams agreeing to Red Bull's terms. Speaking after the Dutch Grand Prix on Sunday, the Red Bull team boss said, "It would depend on which terms, and if we needed him back, that we could have him back quite quickly. But certainly if they needed a driver next weekend, we'd be open to that. But that's a Williams question rather than one for us to answer." But when all was said and done, it was Argentinian rookie Colapinto who was handed the opening Williams seat. Marko says that's because Williams did not agree to Red Bull wanting to be able to recall Lawson at any time if they needed him. "What I can say is that we would generally have been prepared to loan him out," the Red Bull Motorsport advisor told Sky F1. "We couldn't prioritize that in terms of the number of races or anything else, and from this point of view it is understandable that Williams did not agree to this deal." Williams team boss James Vowles confirmed the terms offered by Red Bull, for Lawson didn't work for Williams. With Liam, the contractual sort of position of Red Bull wouldn't have worked with me here at Williams, so that didn't become an option for us in that circumstance, he said. And in Colapinto, a Williams Jr., he says the team is building towards the future, even though Williams already have Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz signed for next season. "Here's what I believe in," Vowles added, "what Williams believes in, and what the core values of Williams are. Williams has always invested in new generations of drivers and youth, and what I've been speaking about all the way through is the investment in the future of Williams." As for what's next for Lawson, Marko retired to Kleine Zeitung that Lawson will definitely have a Formula One drive next season, but it will probably not be with Sauber. That leaves either Red Bull or VCARB with Sergio Perez or Daniel Ricciardo's seats in jeopardy. Mercedes F1 2025 signing Andrea Kimi Antonelli was a massive 10-15 kph faster than any other driver through two key corners at Monza before his Italian Grand Prix FP1 crash on Friday. That's according to Toto Wolff, who has defended the decision to sign the teenager as Lewis Hamilton's replacement for the F1 2025 season. Mercedes confirmed on Saturday that Antonelli will become George Russell's new teammate from next year, becoming the first Italian to race in F1 on a full-time basis since Antonio Giovinazzi in 2021. The announcement came less than 24 hours after Antonelli made his first appearance on an F1 race weekend, driving Russell's car in the opening practice session. Antonelli's session ended after just 10 minutes, with the 18-year-old spinning into the barrier at the fearsome Parabolica corner, having just set the fastest middle sector of the session until that point. Martin Brundle was among those unimpressed by Antonelli's first outing, with the Sky F1 pundit claiming that a crash was the last thing he or the team needed, and arguing that the youngster needed to play himself in somewhat more carefully than that. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko, meanwhile, told media that Mercedes had piled unnecessary pressure on Antonelli by staging the Bologna-born driver's first public session at his home race. Mercedes' decision to promote Antonelli comes despite the teenager himself questioning whether he would be ready to race in F1 as soon as next season. Wolff has leapt to Antonelli's defense, revealing that the youngster was between 10 and 15 kilometers per hour faster than any other driver at Lesmo 2 and the Ascari chicane, two of the most challenging corners on the Monza lap, prior to his rookie error. He told Sky F1, he was 10-15 km quicker through the second Lesmo and Ascari than everybody else, quickest in the first session. But then the other drivers are obviously clever and are distinguishing very well between the first or second flying lap and the rest of the weekend. But that is a rookie error and is forgiven. We like the fact that he's pushing in that way and he needs the calibration. Wolff told media on Saturday that he decided to promote Antonelli within 5 minutes of Hamilton communicating his decision to leave Mercedes for Ferrari in February. Appearing in Friday's team principal's press conference, Wolff admitted that the team are prepared for the teenager to make more mistakes in his debut season in F1 2025, but is convinced that the benefit of promoting Antonelli will outweigh the risk. He explained, he's a rookie, he's very young, we are prepared to invest into his future, and these moments will happen. They will continue to happen next year, but there will also be a lot of highlights. What we've seen in FP1 is that we'd rather have a problem in slowing him down than making him faster, because what we've seen from 1.5 laps is just mind-blowing. Astonishing. Wolff went on to argue that Antonelli needs to cope with the pressure if he wants to be a champion one day, amid concerns that the teenager was too eager to impress in FP1. He added, I think a strong driver needs to recover from these things and cope with the pressure. Obviously, this weekend wasn't easy for him because he still needs to compete in F2. You have all these shenanigans around you in Monza, Italian kid that's being hyped for the first time in a Mercedes. That must be a heavy burden, but if he wants to be a champion one day, he needs to cope with it. I have no doubt that he can and he will. Mercedes confirmed to media on Saturday that Peter Bonington will be Antonelli's race engineer in F1 2025. Bonington has served as Hamilton's race engineer since 2013 and was recently promoted to the role of head of race engineering at Mercedes. Alpine has responded to Nico Rosberg commenting that he has been offered a chance to purchase an ownership stake in the Enstone team. The 2016 F1 world champion suggested that he has been offered an opportunity to purchase a stake in the Alpine F1 team, which the Enstone squad has swiftly responded to clarify. Speaking during the third practice session at Monza as he appeared on Sky Sports F1, Nico Rosberg asserted that he has been offered the chance to purchase a stake in Alpine. Rosberg, who has become a successful entrepreneur in his own right following his racing career, was responding to a question pitched to him by David Croft about a rumor that the entire Alpine squad is for sale. Oh, it's in my email. I have a secondary opportunity in my email to buy part of Alpine, Rosberg said, to the shock of his broadcasting colleagues. Yeah, I should have brought the details. I can do that tomorrow, he said as Karun Chandok laughed. You can't just lob that into FP3 commentary. Asked whether he is going to buy it, Rosberg said, no, so even Alpine is highly profitable. Of course, that could all change. But Alpine has responded to Rosberg's comments to clarify its position when approached by media. This statement is incorrect, and we would like to clarify that the team is not selling more shares, a team spokesperson confirmed. Beyond the 24% stake already sold to the investor group, Otro Capital, Redbird Capital Partners, and Maximum Effort Investments, acquired in June 2023. The investor group includes a number of international athletes and sports investors, and the investor group is constantly looking out for potential new investors as part of their existing 24% stake in the team. We reiterate what top management have said previously: the team is categorically not for sale. While Alpine may not be selling any of its existing ownership, the statement doesn't rule out the possibility that a current stakeholder from the investor group may be looking to resell a portion for a profit, rather than divesting their stake entirely. Last year, Alpine revealed a significant investment from Hollywood actors and Wrexham FC owners Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, with more names added to the investment group later in the year. Included are NFL and Kansas City Chiefs players Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, as well as golfer Rory McIlroy, boxer Anthony Joshua, and Premier League footballer Trent Alexander-Arnold, alongside footballer Juan Mata and Major League Baseball investor Roger Ehrenberg. That's it for today's video. I'll see you in the next one.